And welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I hope that you can hear me clearly. His Excellency Cavendish, good morning and welcome to Good Morning Tobago.
Good morning, and how are you?
I am fine. It's a pleasure to actually have this conversation, even though we faced a couple technical issues earlier as we tried connecting. But it's important that not only Tobagonians but a wider audience understands the role of the EU delegation here in Trinidad and Tobago, while also understanding what you are currently doing to actively engage in developing the cocoa industry.
Very good. Indeed, the European Union and its delegation in Trinidad and Tobago has been active in this country for already 48 years. And in that time, we have committed in excess of 300 million euros in grant and development aid to help the country with various transitions and to build up various sectors. In terms of the cocoa industry, a very important industry with a market of more than 100 billion US dollars worldwide, and approximately the half of all cocoa is eaten by Europeans because it's viewed as a luxury product, the importance of this industry to the European Union is significant. We have funded the world's #1 cocoa genome, which is created here in this country under the excellent work of the academics of the University of the West Indies. It's #1 in the world, and in addition you have the #1 cocoa research center in the world, which has also in the past received EU funding. More recently, we have with innovation grants, given grants to various industry and entrepreneurs, and amongst them are cocoa industry entrepreneurs. So we've supported the scientific in both ways. We've also supported directly the cocoa entrepreneurs with grants, and we have also facilitated webinars through the Caribbean Export Development Agency with some hundreds of persons active in the cocoa industry who are able to basically look at possible investments, business linkages, partnerships, and access to markets. I have to remind everybody that the European Union and Trinidad and Tobago have an economic partnership agreement which allows the free export of Trinidad and Tobago's goods to a European market of 448 million Europeans. And in addition, all Trinidadians with a valid passport may go to the European Union and remain for 90 days in a 180-day period without a visa. So substantively, we've put in for investment, we've promoted business links, and Trini entrepreneurs are very welcome in Europe.
And how can individual businesses or NGOs, get connected with the European Union to receive funding for their projects? Is it that they have to go through a particular agency, or do they wait until there is a call for proposals? Please indicate how persons can benefit from the funding.
You're correct in the latter part. In terms of business groupings and NGOs, normally we will launch call for proposals. At the moment, we have a major series of calls for innovation, where in particular we're looking for female-led entrepreneur businesses, and we're looking for those innovative startups, businesses that will be bringing new products in the market, who are diversifying, who are innovating, and these are the type of people we want to do business with. Yes, they should check for calls for proposals. They're published on the EU delegation's website as they arise, and in this time that people can also look on the Careery website and see for the calls for proposals that we are funding there.
Excellent. And are there any projects, like for instance, that persons can reach out to you to collaborate on? Outside of there being calls for proposal, if there are areas where NGOs have noticed that there are linkages with what the EU delegation is trying to do in Trinidad and Tobago, with what they are actively trying to do in the communities, can they reach out to you for support, for funding?
For that, but right now, because Trinidad and Tobago has become a middle-income country, we would be more likely to fund projects that are regional. So if Trinidadian people, engineers, entrepreneurs, had ideas and wished to take something forward, it really would have to have a regional scope. For example, the Sargasso weed. Excuse me. If there was an engineer here or an entrepreneur who saw that something could be done about Sargasso and that could be applied in other countries, we could certainly look at some sort of arrangement. Due to the economic growth, the success, the development of this country, it's middle income. It doesn't mean our relations will be less close in the future. It means they'll be managed in a different way. And essentially where the shift is that we're moving away from development cooperation to partnership, a partnership that's meant to promote industry and trade. This can be many areas such as tourism. We've mentioned the cocoa industry, Europe is very energy insecure, so energy products in this country are extremely welcome. So entrepreneurs who have good ideas, we would need to work with government agencies, state agencies, semi-state agencies, but we can reduce the risk of doing business. We're able to provide small grants for new areas. We're able to provide technical expertise. We have a huge range of experts who can be called upon to make studies. But I have to underline that in the context of the wealth of this country, we're really looking for multipliers at a regional level, which could raise the whole region. And we do think the talent is here in this country. And certainly in the energy area, we see that there's a lot of talent. I have to mention that not only do we give grants, but we can give loan guarantees. So if there are European companies, large industry groups that wish to invest here in this country, we can give loan guarantees. So there's linkages between Trinity entrepreneurs, major European companies. The range of options we have to deploy is quite wide. Historically, we have grants at the regional level. We will retain technical expertise that we can bring into this country. And if something is regional, we can look at that potentially for a grant, but we also have the facility now to give loan guarantees for Europeans who wish to invest here in this country.
Okay, and what about Trinbagonians who would also like to invest in Europe?
Well, they'd be very welcome.
Facilities available to them as well.
Well, the loans, if people are investing in Europe, certainly we can make all sorts of introductions to them. We can introduce them to business employer confederations. We can introduce them to chambers of commerce. We can hold webinars. We have partners already from your country in Europe. We have in Brussels, you have the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce for Europe. This has been running now since about 2.5 years, and they are helping all Caribbean companies that have a strong interest in exporting to Europe, but they're also bringing investment money from Europe into this country. So if people are not aware of the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce to Europe, they should check it out. It's on the internet there, it's on the web, and it's one actor amongst others they might wish to consider. Of course, in this country they have Export TT for exporters, Invest for investors as well, but you have actors out there who are, willing and able to support Trini entrepreneurs either to get into the European market or to get European investors to bring money to this country.
And there has been the consensus among many that the framework for aid that has been provided to Africa has truly kept Africa poor because the aid doesn't necessarily get down to the individuals who truly need it. Has this philosophy, created the pathway for investing in countries as opposed to strictly providing aid?
Well, you're very good in your question. In fact, now we have what's called the Global 20. This is, in fact, bringing together what we call Team Europe, all of the European countries, business actors, developmental banks. In terms of Africa, I think that certainly there have been many success stories, but Africa in the future is imminently going to be a continent with 2 billion people. It has always historically been a major supplier of raw materials, a major tourism provider, and of course we would like to see Africa advance more on the development path. But I do consider that Europeans have aided the growth of education in Africa. We have given out Erasmus money to bring people from Africa to Europe to study at the postgraduate level. I feel when you say that Africa has been held back by aid, I think the issue is to give Africa better trading prospects, and we've tried to work on that with economic partnership agreements with African countries. There is most Africans now live in cities which are large, they are urbanized, these are countries which are industrializing, so I'm optimistic for the future, but clearly they need a level playing field, and development aid by itself can't fix all of that.
So this is why we're seeing a greater level of investments and more grant giving and loan facilities as opposed to simply aid, especially in this part of the region.
Well, I think the traditional concept of development aid has been served a purpose up to a point. You take the Latin America continent, and 10 out of the 12 have shown real improvements over the last few decades. And in Africa, there are also success.
I think we got We just had a bit of a dip in our connection. His Excellency, are you there? Can you hear us? If not, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back right after this.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion starter.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Na, 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 na. Good morning, Tobago. Na, 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 na. Let's go.
So good morning, Tobago. We are still chatting with His Excellency Peter Cavendish. And before we went off to the break, we were chatting about the transition from aid to investment within developing countries. Good morning and welcome back.
Thank you for having me again. Well, on the point that you were making, that is development aid keeping countries back, I don't feel that's proven, because you would need to have studies of countries where no development aid has been given and countries where development aid has been given and make comparisons. I think that the paradigm in many countries has massively shifted. We've seen the access to information through the World Wide Web, which is a European creation. It was created by the European Nuclear Research Facility. The access to information is unparalleled, and now we have another paradigm shift taking place with artificial intelligence. So I'm optimistic that in terms of human capital, which is the driver of wealth creation, more and more countries which are either middle income, developing, or upper income will be able to invest further in the human capital with education, with exchange of know-how, with exchange of technical software packages. So I would see the paradigm shifting to aid better quality of life, better standards of living. I have to remain an optimist, and certainly the big challenge for all of us, of course, is climate change. But I think in terms of human development, the current paradigm is shifting towards a lower cost of acquisition, of education, of know-how. The human capital that will generate wealth in our societies should be easier to assemble and to build.
Okay, and who are some of your core partners here in Trinidad and Tobago that persons may be able to identify when they see the initiatives and know that the EU delegation has a part to play in these events?
Well, we work with people from the government, the semi-state NGO sector. We work with the University of the West Indies. We work with Cariri. We work with other international actors such as the Inter-American Development Bank and the CAF Bank. So the whole range of state, semi-state bodies, environmental management agency. So across the wide spectrum of those bodies that are either state, semi-state, or not-for-profit. And then in terms of the for-profit bodies, we do calls for proposals, as you correctly identified earlier, where we make grant funds available.
Okay, and when it comes to the EU Innovation Project, can you tell us a bit more about that and how individuals can get involved? Is this the one that is partnered with Cariri?
Exactly, it is partnered with Cariri. We've run a number of calls for proposals, and basically we've had proposals run for small to medium sized, and then for larger enterprises, we've had workshops trying to build ideas, to do brainstorming, and we have people who've come forward with a range of ideas, from digital identity to new types of chocolate products to recycling of plastics. All sorts of technological ideas have come up. And I mean, we have to emphasize the quality of the entrepreneurial class in this country that we have found through the innovation challenge program has been very, very high. I'm confident that many of these innovators will be there as companies from not just now to the medium, but even the long term, and some may grow significantly. This week I will be attending a round table with investors who are looking at this country, and I think there's many rising talents, and I go back to the connectivity issues. This country has huge connectivity advantages. It's easily accessible to the United States, to the European Union in terms of access. We have got more and more super connectivity in cables. And I think with the highly educated population that exists in this country, there will be more opportunities in the future.
And as you have those governmental level conversations, have you had any of those conversations directly with the THA regarding investments in Tobago?
Well, we have people from Tobago who've participated to the various debates in tourism and other areas. Tobago has many advantages of its own. Of course, historically, the environmental legislation, we have to point that the Boundary Main Ridge Forestry Reserve is the world's oldest piece of environmental legislation of the modern era. So Tobago has its own standalone features, of which everybody in Trinidad and Tobago is aware. And I think that Tobago, it is in the paradigm of development for this country. I don't see anything really to hold it back. It's the same quality. We have the highly educated workforce. We have got basically a lot of profile awareness in Europe for tourism. And Tobago has quality.
Excellent. Good to know that as well. When it comes to projects such as the digitalization initiative, specifically for the public sector, is this something that the EU delegation can play a part in funding for Tobago's transition to a more digitalized public sector?
Well, we are supporting digitalization, not just here, but across the region. And at this point in time, we've made presentations to governments in the region because we are bringing in what's called a super connectivity cable, which runs from basically Portugal to Brazil at the moment, and has been extended. We have 11 Latin America, Caribbean countries, and Mexico already involved in a super connectivity cable, which is to link educational and research networks worldwide. Now, these will also be linked to supercomputing or something like supercomputing facilities in Panama and Chile. So the promotion of contacts between educated third parties is being facilitated, and the name of the project is BELLA, which is called Bridging the Link Between Europe and Latin America, and the NGO that's managing it is called Red Clara, R-E-D, large C-L-A-R-A. They're both on the internet if people wish to look at it. But the connectivity is under review, and clearly, connectivity, access to research networks, access to computing facilities, all of these are multipliers, particularly in the paradigm shift with artificial intelligence coming.
Thank you so much. And before we round up this morning's discussions, are there any misconceptions that you think exist regarding the EU delegation in Trinidad and Tobago that you want to clear up, or are there any things that you think people should definitely know about your work here in Trinidad and Tobago before we go?
Well, it's a 48-year partnership which will continue. I don't know if you can call it a misconception, but people in general need to be aware about the shift away from development cooperation towards partnership, because now it's partnership in economic terms, partnership on regional projects, partnership on key strategic areas such as digitalization, green economy, economic resilience, security. So we are moving away because of the wealth of this country towards a partnership. It's always been a type of partnership. We're talking more about an economic partnership, an area where we can multiply and add value by using the global gateway, the tools of potentially grants, potentially technical exchanges and investments, potentially guarantees for loans. But I would like to wrap up and mention people should look at what's out there already. They should check our website. They should check Careery. And I would recommend for young entrepreneurs to look at the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce Europe website and check them out and see what they can get there, because there's already a nucleus, and more than a nucleus, of Trini entrepreneurs and other Caribbean entrepreneurs in Europe who are looking to act to bring capital back here or to bring products from here to Europe. So people should be aware of what's out there, and a lot of it is online. Maybe too much is online, but there is a lot online. So my key pointers would be for people to check out the European delegation website to see for calls for proposals or calls for proposals for charitable purposes such as the civil society organizations. They should check out also Cariri. They should check out the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce to Europe. And of course, CEDA, which is EU-funded, the Caribbean Export Development Agency, runs a lot of programs and webinars. And we have also contributed to the Caribbean investment forums in different countries. And I think people should be aware of the amount of exchange that is taking place and the opportunity for people to become involved, including commercially involved.
Excellent. Well, that is a great way to end off this morning's discussion. And I just want to make sure that I get that correct. If you want to find out more information, there is the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce as well as the EU delegation website, Cariri and EUDA, which is the EU Development Agency in Trinidad and Tobago. And that's something that persons can go online and check out.
Well, just one. It's the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce to Europe has a standalone website. The EU delegation has a standalone website, and Cariri has a standalone website. So those are the ones people could check out and get more information on.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this morning, His Excellency. And again, thank you for making Tobago Updates your choice this morning to discuss all that the EU delegation is doing here in Trinidad and Tobago and how individuals can get involved and benefit from all the opportunities that are being presented. Guys, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back right after this. See you soon.
It's a brand new